never shake you. You held me down pitching cane when I wasn't able. Rocking Dapper Dan, running neighborhood scams. Neglect you how? I got you tattooed on my hand. Hustle hard, I'm forever on the grind. So anywhere I'm at, I'm in a Harlem state of mind. The game don't change, it's the same old regime. The smart players get old and they coach the team. Each one teach one, every day a lesson.
What is up, guys? This week we're going to be talking about a fragrance that I love, a sophisticated, well thought out and executed, creative, offbeat fragrance designed by one of the titans of the fragrance industry. We are talking about Sartorial by Penhaligon's, created by the master himself, Bertrand Duchaufour. Now, Penhaligon's is literally one of the oldest fragrance houses in the world. It was started as a barbershop by William Penhaligon during the Victorian era, and they later went on to make bath products, shaving creams, soaps, and eventually released their first fragrance in 1872, which was called Hamam Bouquet. And that was inspired by the Turkish bathhouses on Jermyn Street in London. It's an oriental fragrance with some animal notes in there. It's very interesting, and from a hysterical standpoint, probably a fragrance that every enthusiast should at least get their nose on. They also break ground in 1902 when they released their also very famous Blenheim Bouquet, which was one of their first fragrances, actually the first fragrance for men to feature citrus notes in it. Up until that time, most men's and women's scents were heavily based on floral notes and not citruses, especially men's. There were no citrus fragrances for men. And even today, Penhaligon's is still based in London and using as many natural ingredients as possible, and the bottles are still made the same way they were made under William Penhaligon, with the little ribbon you could see here tied across the top part. And as of now, they have 35 scents available for men and women in their range. There's basically something there for everyone, all different styles and notes and everything. They're still a cutting-edge and top-tier brand, especially when discussing London perfume houses. They also continue with their shaving line, making soaps and creams and talcs and deodorants. Now, Sartorial is a newer fragrance from Penhaligon's, released in 2010, and again, created by Bertrand Duchaufour. If you don't know who he is, chances are you're not into fragrances that much, because he is one of, if not the best perfumers in the world. His resume is ridiculous. Scents that he's composed include Frappin 1697, Acqua di Parma's Colonia Assoluta, both scents that were made for the store Aids de Venustus, Enchanted Forest, Fahrenheit Summer, Jubilation 25, Timbuktu, etc. Now, with Sartorial, Duchaufour aimed to achieve something completely different and foreign to the game. He aimed to recreate a tailor's workroom in London. When you hear that, you might be thinking, okay, so it's supposed to smell like clothing on racks, spools of wool or whatever. And I've heard some people simplify it down to that, and that's really a small percentage of the intent. It's also supposed to invoke the sense of the metal scissors that the tailors used, the steam for the irons, the beeswax they run their threaded needle through, the smoke in the room, the leather shoe polish of their tailors, and the classic English fragrances that the tailors wear. And that sort of light vanilla scent that old tracing paper can emit. And they hit a bullseye with this one. It is uncanny how close this is to the actual living spirit. This fragrance is defined as a classic fougere scent. And what does that mean? Well, that means it's a scent that is mainly defined by notes of lavender, oak moss, woods, geranium, and cumin. Classic examples of these scents are Dracar Noir, Brut, Grey Flannel, which I know is Dan's favorite scent. I actually really like Grey Flannel, by the way, and Azara Pour Homme. These are older ones and can smell dated. A lot of reviewers shy away from these types of scents, and they're often branded as old man scents. When done poorly, they do smell dated and cheap. When done right, like Sartorial, they smell sophisticated, rich, and ahead of their time. So let's take a look at the bottle and box. This is the 50 ml bottle. It's going to run you $80. For 40 more, you can double up and get the 100 ml bottle. I picked this up from Saks Fifth Avenue, where they have a Penhaligon's counter. The box is pretty neat. It has this little, I guess, sort of an ode to Alice in Wonderland with this Keep Me tag in it, and the information about Penhaligon's on the back. And, pretty standard bottle, nothing crazy there. The bow tie on the front. All Penhaligons have a ribbon of some sort. Now, I picked my bottle up at the Penhaligon's counter in Saks. I have plenty of 50 ml fragrances. We'll get into whether you should be picking up a 50 or 100 ml debate on another show. I think it varies person to person. But part of the debate for me is how does the bottle change? between the 50 and the 100 ml version. And one of the reasons I'll never pick up a Creed 1 ouncer, which I think are great deals and are very useful, is because I aesthetically have a problem with their 1 ounce bottle design. I just don't like them. And with me, it's about 70% about the fragrance, 25% about the bottle, and about 5% about the packaging. All of those things do matter to me. And I love the Penhaligon's bottles. I think they're refined and elegant, but I don't like how they do their 50 ml bottles. First of all, on my receipt it said travel size, and I don't think 50 ml is a travel size bottle. I at this point have close to 70 bottles and 200 decants and samples. When I buy 50 ml, it's because I know I'll never get through it, and there's not great value in stepping up and paying X amount for the 100 ml. But I got to tell you, if I knew how tiny and miniature the 50 ml would look like, I probably would have picked up the larger bottle for the extra 40 bucks. So you guys keep that in mind with the Penhaligon's fragrances. Now, I also quickly did want to bring up my experience at the Penhaligon's counter in Saks. Penhaligon's used to have a store in Madison Avenue, and I know they're sold at a couple of stores in New York, the Bathroom in the Village, past stores in Midtown, etc. But their official outlet in New York is Saks. It's a little hard to find in there. It's sort of nudged in the front of the store. So I went over there. I didn't need much help. I said, "Do you have Sartorial 50 ml?" And they said yes, and they asked me why I was purchasing the smaller size and if it was for travel. Now, first of all, I don't ever feel like I should have to justify why I'm buying what I'm buying. And if I was someone maybe a little less secure with myself, I might have felt bad for buying a smaller size, which for a lot of people who rotate scents, that's just the best buy. But I don't care. So I picked the bottle up and I said I'd really like a sample of Doro and Castile, two other Penhaligon scents, because I think I probably want to buy those at some point. And the woman sort of said, "You have to take what we have," which really kind of took me back. I've never been in a store, and we can talk about from Diptyque to Mal to Creed to Malone to Sephora to Barney's to Min to Age to Venustas, made a purchase and been told I couldn't have a sample of a scent that I was interested in purchasing. Now, I wanted to buy a men's sampler on Penhaligon's website, and it was out of stock. So I emailed them, said I'm a reviewer. This is a link to my show. My subscription base is growing every day. Can I purchase the sampler? They said it was out of stock, and if I lived in London, they'd be happy to send me a few samples of whichever scent I wanted, which was a very classy move on their part. But I don't live in London. I'm in New York. So they said go to Saks. They'll give you what you want, which I now know is untrue. But I said I'm busy. Can't I just pay for my samples? They said no, we'll send them to you. What's your address? Which two do you want? I said great. I want Endymion and Castile. Okay, great. We'll send them to you. That never occurred. Okay, no problem. I'll get them when I go to Saks. Now the woman said I had to take what they gave me in the bag, and about a block away, after I spent some time with the people at the Bond number 9 counter who told me I could have samples of whatever I want, I checked my bag, and there was a sample of juniper sling and I think English fern, which I like, but I already have samples of those. And another problem is with the bottles slip out of their little tags, they're unlabeled, so it's kind of hard to figure out which one is which if you're not very into scents. I want to get off that and talk more about this scent, and it's a great scent, and I don't want to let customer service issues take away from Sartorial and how awesome it is, but I don't buy anything over 50 bucks unless I smell it and wear it for a day or two, and I'm very interested in buying Castile and Doro, but I guess I can't sample them, and I'm going to move on to other brands and review other brands that do value the reviewer and the consumer. There are 272 bottles on my list that I plan to buy. Not adding Doro and Castile is not going to spoil my fun, but Penhaligon's needs to fix these issues for their customers and make sure paying customers can sample whatever they're interested in. I think that that really holds them back. I'm going to email them this video, and I hope they don't take the feedback negatively because I'm going to say some very nice things about the brand as well in this video. Back to the scent. Notes on Sartorial are going to be on the top: aldehydes, ozonic effects, metallic effects, violet leaf, neroli, cardamom, black pepper, and fresh ginger. Your middle notes are going to be beeswax, cyclamen, linden blossom, lavender, and leather. And your base notes are going to be gergam wood, patchouli, myrrh, cedarwood, tonka beans, oak moss, white musk, honey, old wood, vanilla, and amber. A lot going on there. And this is a fragrance that will challenge you and challenge you. I got myself an 8 ml decant of this when I first smelled it, and I'm still learning about the scent and finding out new notes. It starts off with the aldehydes and ozonic effects, which kind of smells like water as it evaporates into steam and sort of smells like old air in a pleasant way. And you do get the metal notes, and it's very unique and a different beginning. As you get to the middle notes, that beeswax really sticks its head out, and you almost get like a dried honey thing going on, and that's what sort of sticks around to a woodsy, dry vanilla base. It's not a sweet scent at all. It projects perfectly and has about average longevity. 2 sprays are plenty, 1 in the neck and 1 in the chest. Too much, you could smell too mature. Let's put it like that. That is why I got the 50 ml bottle. The base of this scent's a real juxtaposition for me. Sort of clean, but old air it smells like, if that makes any sense. It's all about the aldehydes and the beeswax and the ozonic effects. And it's so pleasant and different that at work I often catch myself smelling my wrist or my shirt because I love the way Sartorial smells. To me, this is a scent for someone at least 35 years old. I'm 34 and I couldn't have seen myself liking this in my 20s. I might even push the age on this to a 40-year-old. It is something you can wear year-round, and it's a perfect office scent. Might be a little too much or out there for a signature scent, but when used properly, it's a powerful weapon in your wardrobe. And because it was inspired by a tailor's workshop, it sort of inspires you to want to throw on a suit and some nice shoes. It is an 8 out of 10 for me. I love this scent because it challenges everything we know or think we know about fragrances, almost in the same way like a Le Labo or CB I Hate Perfumes or Nasamato scent will. It just shows us that all fragrances and wearable fragrances can also be more than the aquatic flankers that line the wall at Sephora. They can smell like points in time that aren't Christmas or summer, or can smell like places that aren't oceans or mountains or beaches. They can be more specific. They can be more focused and zeroed in. You know, Comme des Garçons did their synthetic series and made colognes called Tar and Garage, and that's cool, and I enjoy that like I enjoy art. But it's hard to put that on and take yourself seriously. Try wearing tar into a meeting with the CEO of your company. No. Well, this could be called Taylor's Workroom, and it could be worn just like a mass marketed scent. I'm sure there will be plenty that disagree with these assertions, but that's how I see it. I mean, look at the little ribbons around the bottles and the card that comes in the boxes. It's fun, it's different, it's eccentric, and a fragrance house that existed in the 1700s is often being more experimental and cutting edge than companies that came out less than 10 years ago. You hear about these old English brands like Trumper and TrueFit, and God bless their shaving gear, but 90% of their scents smell like they never left the 20th century. They haven't caught up with the times. What Penhaligon has done should be a blueprint for how other old brands run their house and how they think about the art of perfume making. And for us, the consumer and the enthusiast, we should all be thrilled that companies like Penhaligon and perfumers like Duchefort are out there innovating and not resting on their laurels of some of their older and better selling scents. Guys, get your nose on this. You may hate it, you may not like it, you may love it, but I'd be stunned if it didn't pique your curiosity and at least make you think about what's possible, and also be less forgiving when a brand makes something that insults our intelligence and our senses. This will probably never leave my rotation. It can be solid in any season. The packaging is gorgeous, and in my view, the price is right. Anyway, that is this week's episode of Maximilian Must Know. We will be back, obviously, this week, in the middle of the week, probably Wednesday or Tuesday, with a grooming/shaving review. And then at the end of the week, next week, we're going to be doing my first review for a fragrance from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. So, thank you so much for watching. I am Maximilian.
Drugs, it's that water whip. It's that shice bar pit, flood the strip and take all the chips. It's that 9/11 stoop shit. It's that rewind, divine, undeniable music. Make way for the next dawn. I'm so cinematic, picture perfect.